Hello and welcome, my dear students of 8th ABC Rajeshwar School, Mahu. This is your friend, philosopher, and guide, Prabhat Sharma, with you once again about Refugee Blues, the poem, which is about the plight of the Jewish refugees in 1930s. And when the poem was written, actually in 1939, there were millions of Jews who were trying to flee Nazi Germany, as I had mentioned in the previous lecture also. However, most of the countries had strict quotas on Jewish immigration, and as a result, most Jews were sent back. The speaker of Refugee Blues is one of those Jews who thus faces two kinds of anti Semitism. One, on the hand, there is the Nazi regime with its explicit state sanctioned violence against Jews. On the other hand, there is a less explicit but no less virulent anti Semitism of countries who use immigration quotas to exclude Jews. These countries have the power to help, indeed, to save the speaker's life, but they refuse to do so. So the poem thus levels a stern accusation against them also, insisting they are complicit in the Jews' suffering and mass murder. To not actively step in to stop prejudice, the poem implies it is its own form of prejudice and cruelty. Although the speaker identifies as a German Jew, Germany no longer feels like home. The speaker thought this country was fair, both beautiful and just, a safe place for Jews to live. But notice how the speaker refers to it in the past tense. What he says, let us see the lines once again. Once we had a country. So the speaker continues mournfully. We cannot go there now. The speaker cannot go back because it isn't safe. Hitler has taken power in Germany and believes Jews must die. Despite this direct and direct threat, the speaker cannot find refuge elsewhere. The speaker seeks asylum in an unnamed country in Europe or the Americas. But that country frustratingly turns the speaker away on a technicality. The speaker's passport is expired. An immigration officer announces, if you've got no passport, you're officially dead. So without proper documentation, the speaker is unable to enter the country. A country that could save the speaker's life. For the speaker, this refusal is both hypocritical and cruel. It is hypocritical because the country has no trouble housing other people. As the poem opens, the speaker complains, there's no place for us, my dear. Even though the city where they find themselves has managed to find homes for 10 million, with mansions for the rich and holes for the poor. Indeed, the inhabitants of the city seem more willing to help the animals than these refugees. They give comfort and welcome to poodles and cats. They even dress their dogs in fancy jackets to keep them warm. Thus, even though they do not announce their anti Semitism with the same force as the Nazis, their behavior reveals it. They act as though the lives of animals are more valuable to them than the lives of Jews. And it is cruel because without protection, the refugees face certain death The poem closes with the refugees standing on a great plain in the falling snow. They have nowhere to hide, and there are 10,000 soldiers hunting for them. The speaker thus predicts that without refuge, Jews will be slaughtered. The poem blames the soldiers for their brutality and inhumanity. Justifiably so, since they are pursuing and killing innocent people. But it also strongly suggests that the country that turned the speaker away share a good deal of blame and responsibility. They had the power to save the speaker and failed to do so. So, this is the theme which appears in the poem. To carry on, so Refugee Blues is in part about the fear and desperation of being a refugee. The speaker is terrified of returning to Germany, but also is unable to find a safe haven elsewhere. As a result, the speaker is isolated and in limbo, trapped between countries without a clear sense of home. The speaker does not hold out hope that this situation will get better. And the poem uses the speaker's despair and frustration to convey the loneliness, pain, and sense of stagnancy that accompany exile. Throughout Refugee Blues, the speaker's mood is bleak and mournful. The poem begins with the speaker complaining that there is no place for us, my dear, no safe home in any country, and no one will help the speaker indeed. The poem people in the city would rather take in dogs and cats than Jewish refugees. The speaker thus feels friendlessness, profoundly lonely, and without the possibility of finding asylum in a country like England or the United States of America. The speaker feels trapped. Even the fish have more liberty than the speaker. They can at least swim as if they were free. At points, the speaker seems jealous of animals and birds because they don't have to deal with hateful politicians. They experience a kind of happiness and ease that the speaker no longer can. The speaker seems to have given up on changing the minds of such politicians, even though they have the power to change the laws that exclude Jewish refugees. The poem does not directly address the countries and governments that refuse to grant asylum to the speakers. Instead, using apostrophe, the speaker addresses another refugee, someone the speaker simply calls my dear, instead of calling for, say, specific policy reforms. So the speaker simply expresses sadness and frustration. Indeed, the speaker seems to have slid into despair. For the speaker, the poem is cathartic, a way for these refugees to get some of the weight of their situation off their chest. But for the reader, it has a different effect. The speaker's suffering and loneliness acts as a powerful call for the action, an impassioned dream and demand for change. By providing a window into the speaker's suffering, the poem thus makes a passionate case for more just and welcoming immigration laws. So this was the most of the things of the poem. So what we have seen here, that the poem concerns the plight of Jewish refugees in Europe in the 1930s. And they were forced to flee persecution and violence in Nazi Germany. Many Jews were unable to secure asylum in countries like England and US because they kept tight quotas on the number of Jewish immigrants admitted each year. Such Jews were trapped between countries, unable to find a safe refuge, yet terrified of returning home. As the poem opens, we see the speaker is trapped in that difficult position. The speaker is in an unnamed city. The city of enormous 10 million people live there. So city is enormous, very big city. Some of them are very wealthy, some are very poor. As the speaker notes, some are living in mansions and some are living in holes. Okay, so this is all the poem was about. He says that the city is providing refuge to 10 million souls. Okay, but still, say that this city has 10 million souls. Some are living in mansions, some are living in holes. So they are very rich people, they are very poor people, but there is no place for the people like author or the poet W.H. Auden here, and he is very desperate, dejected, and lost. So this was a few lines about the poem. That's all for today. For this time, from your class 8 English teacher Prabhat Sharma, goodbye and take care. Please read the poem time and again. Go through the videos again and again. Develop your own understanding of the poem. So bye bye and take care of yourself. Thank you all once again.